Hello ladies and gents, welcome to Inside My Head, and today we are going to try the modern slash Pirc, also known correctly as Pirc defense. Depending on how the opponent reacts, I find g6 to be a far more flexible way to go about it, but then again there are certain variations where actually we prefer to hold the bishop back, for example in the main line, which was made very famous by the absolutely magnificently brilliant Kasparov-Topalov game. So we are going to see how we go. F4. Now against this there are lots of interesting and exciting variations. Knight f6 is one of them. Recently it has become quite popular to play a6 and b5 early on before committing to anything, but I'm up for some fights, so let's see how we go. Castles, and there's a crazy variation here with e5, knight d7, h4, which is very gung-ho, and long time since I have had a look at that. So e5 is very committal because although it does gain space in the center, but now c5 is incoming and I'm going to blow up this center no matter what. And so he needs to be very cautious and careful in regards to how he presents it, this attack. And I think it was Rezhevsky who played it very young Rezhevsky, h4. The idea is to play h4 takes. Let me think about this. h5 takes and then takes here. I think that's it. Yes, something like that. I would have to look it up. So now I'm very inclined to play c5. Yeah, let's just go. If he takes here, I take there. Any kind of opening of the position now favors me. And I thought that he wanted to do c3. So now I need to think a little bit about how to exploit this the best. Queen b6 comes to mind actually as an interesting idea. Trying to hinder his development. The bishop can't come out, and if bishop d3... Take, and then he won't be able to castle, but the position has become a little bit rigid. I should rather say the structure. Nonetheless, I like queen b6, so I'm going to go with this. I didn't like the look of knight c6 early on, because then he had d5 potentially. Whereas the early take queen b6 is not my cup of tea, because it releases a little bit of tension. That being said, maybe it takes... Yeah, if it takes, I will take with the knight. So I'm trying to avoid any kind of symmetrical pawn structures. Actually, that's the only downside of queen b6, that now dc always comes with the tempo on the queen, so I can never take that way, which would be ideal. But again, for example, if it takes there, I'm going to take instantly that one, because it's my interest to open up the e-file. So here it's interesting to talk about the respective king's positions, which is going to be, by the way, the topic of my third chessable course, king safety. So now the white king is definitely far more insecure than mine, because it's stuck in the middle and there are lots of pawn tensions on the board, and that means that when these files and diagonals open up, his king might find itself in a bit of a pickle. So bishop d3, was it expected? I think I did say that move, yes. So now I can take, and maybe then knight c6, because if d5 we have knight b4. I like that. Okay, so I do need to insert one capture, and then we start turning on the heat. d4 is hanging now. Also on d5 check, knight c3. Yeah, I don't think I can exploit that yet. So d5, knight b4. And d5 actually self-undermines e5. So this chain is quite powerful as it is. But yeah, so that is, again, a massive compromise by my opponent. Now rook d8 looks a tempting option. Or I can take back, and then rook d8. Although that forces queen e2. Which I'm not sure if I want to force or not. Would love to move this knight so I could get out to g4. Man. How should we do this? Take, rook d8, queen e2, knight c5, bishop e3, queen check, bishop d2, and something like queen b5 is fine. So take, rook d8. Oh, knight c5 right away, actually. Yeah, I can hold this back. Let's go knight c5. Can you do bishop e3 then? No, I just take, right? So take, knight c5. Knight takes, queen takes. Now there is no pressure on b2, but the bishop can't really develop a meaningful square. So let's go queen e2, bishop g4 now, finally. Bishop e3. He's ready to castle, so check. Queen d2. Has become a bit foggy, but I definitely want to take this. So I'm going to go with that. And I doubt he will take this way. He might. But that doesn't help him to castle at all, because then the d4 pawn is pinned. So I can just pick off this cherry. So if he takes this way, I will probably go rook d8 anyway. Maybe I will just go gangbusters and take this. Okay. And so knight c5 was the agreed way of operation. And I like this because this is my most inferior piece. So if you look at the position here, then we established that white's best is this, black's worst is this. And so if I can trade these dudes off, then although white does have this beautiful space advantage, but his development is very lacking, and the king is still extremely insecure. So let's see how we go. It is very important, and I do say this to my students who come to me with set repertoires, that if you are playing a passive opening like this one, the modern or Pirc or Pirc, it's very important that passive openings need to be played with extreme aggression, because you need to counteract the fact that by itself and by default you are in a passive position. And so if you play a passive position with a passive mindset, that is the ultimate recipe for disaster in chess. So here you especially need to be on the lookout at any given point to take over the initiative and to try to bruise the opponent as soon as possible. Now he just blundered queen c1, so I will offer him a take by, which is ironically something I blundered myself during my calculation too. So yeah, this is how easy to make a mistake under pressure. Oh mate, like I offered you a take back. Okay, we'll have a look at it afterwards, but I thought it best to play a rematch. Who is this lovely gentleman? Claudio from Switzerland. Klaus Goldschmidt. I'm telling him that I'm recording this. He says, okay, I need to play better, as in he does. Okay, so is it going to be Scheveningen pin variation, or the other pin variation, or the Sveshnikov indeed? Okay, let's do Sveshnikov. The Sveshnikov is a variation that has enjoyed a great deal of popularity due to the great success of Magnus Carlsen and prior to that Vladimir Kramnik. So two big guns used it. So we are going to play the positional line here, which is when I'm rerouting my pieces towards d5 as soon as I possibly can. And here I'm going to actually play just a sneaky little sideline with bishop e2. a4 is the most thematic move here to bite into this pawn chain right away. But I wanted to do something different to get him out of his comfort zone whilst playing proper chess. And this is actually a questionable response. And the reason for that is because now I have got bishop f3, and this bishop will become quite a pest on the long diagonal. And also if he takes place bishop f5, that's his good bishop coming off for my technically bad one. So we will see. Generally speaking, here the best response instead of instead of f5 would have been something like rook b8 to preempt a4, and then usually just develop and prepare for f5. Because now there is no good way for black to progress on. f4 is really bad because it kills this bishop. So now it's just an overgrown pawn, and that's a disaster. So now I could castle and then bishop g4. I could play instant bishop g4 with the proposition of trading that very good bishop for my terrible one. And I could also play a4 right away, but I'm feeling inclined to hold this back and clarify the situation here by offering this trade. And we'll take it from here. Yeah, f4 is usually very bad if there is no follow-up to that. So what it's very easy to confuse, what it is very easy to confuse with as a Sveshnikov player, I will show you in a different tab. So if you play the Sveshnikov as black, then one of the main lines actually look like this. Bishop g5, a6 back here and takes first, where black takes with the pawn. Knight d5, f5, bishop d3, bishop g7, castles, queen h5, and f4. And then black plays f5. But here in the game that we're now playing, he doesn't have a second f-pawn to play f5 with to eliminate my e4 pawn. So if you make the comparison here after f5, black still can put up a very hefty fight for these two squares. In strong contrast in the game, he has nothing to attack these two with. So there is no pawn coming from here, there is no minor piece that can attack this. The knight trade would just enhance my advantage of great knight, terrible bishop. So strategically and positionally speaking, I would say that this position is close to disaster for black. Part of me actually would be quite tempted to play here f3. Because with that, if I castle, he will instantly play f3. And I don't really believe in that, but after g3, at least he has got some hopes. And I like to shatter hopes when my opponent is in a bad position. I don't like to allow scenarios where they get counterplay. f3 weakens this diagonal, but that's another thing that I don't really see how we could exploit. I'm really torn because the thematic move is castles. Without a doubt. f3, g3, and just, yeah, he can't do anything against my king. He can't do rook lift. Yeah, stuff it. I have to play correct chess. It's inside my head. We need to stick to our guns. f3 is a lemon, and I shouldn't respect that. I mean, it's not a lemon per se, because the whole position is really bad. That's their best chance. But since my best move is not really losing any value by this one, I believe I needed to do it. Okay, so he stepped out of the check. And now it's time for us to go a4, take, or to trade. I'm also kind of tempted to just play here and see how where he puts this. Because quite interestingly, very unusual in this regard this position is, this queen doesn't have a good square at all. Okay, let's just go here. I'm curious what he wants to do. Perhaps knight e7, knight b4, a5, knight... Oh, knight takes here. Yeah, okay. I was looking at queen e6, knight takes... Queen takes back. Rook f6 is forced. That's a possibility. I might choose to go for that. But again, I feel very reluctant to allow the... So here, a5, knight e7, I missed this capture. But it actually loses a pawn by force. So we go. Okay. So the more likely scenario will be a5 takes, knight d5, queen a7. When finally he managed to put that queen on the correct diagonal. Maybe I needed to squeeze a4 in earlier. And also this whole maneuver makes a lot of sense now because I weakened my king by moving this rook off of the f-file. But I wanted to keep this guy here because of a4. But now I'm no longer so sure. So a5 takes, knight d5, queen a7, and all of a sudden I don't have an easy target. Maybe I will just play a4 anyway. And takes, rook takes, and the queen is awkwardly pinned on the a-file. But then there is queen c5. Yeah, I don't know, man. I may have messed this up a bit. Okay, I'm surprised by that. Because that gives me a pawn for free and still I can relocate on d5. So, what am I missing? This was strange. But I dare say that I messed this up here. Probably I needed to go a4, take, rook takes a5. Maybe rook double or rook c4 or bring the queen in even. Actually, queen e6 here is quite a pesky move too. So I did miss there a few possibilities I believe that would have been potentially better. But again, I can't help but note the large difference between the quality of the minor pieces. So we shall see. From his long thinking, I take he blundered it. He must have expected me to come back to either of these. I did look at knight f5 briefly, by the way. But after rook takes on b2, I thought that that would have invited unnecessary chaos. So what do we expect? We are expecting either queen f6 or queen b6 rather. I would actually go b6, knight takes b4, f3, g3, and resignation. There are some sneaky motives there that he can sack a bishop here, and if I take then queen check and then stir the pot around my king. But if worst comes to worst, after bishop e3 I can always slide the rook back here. And actually it doesn't work because after f3 I can insert knight d5. That's a very important in-between move. I'm reading the game quite well, I'm proud of that. And so now he has to give up on these dreams of this because now queen wherever, I'll go g3. And bishop e3 has been denied. That was pretty cool. Not that I think bishop e3 is a good move here, but like I said, it's very important to shatter your opponent's hopes. Because we are humans, and we have got a psyche, and we feel. And when what happens is that you see a hope, a glimmer of hope, some tactics coming up, and then your opponent just shuts them down one after the next, you just tend to surrender mentally, even without realizing it. Because he's lost and he knows it, right? And so, for example, g3, bishop e3 is mess. Like, there is stuff going on around my king that I don't feel comfortable with. Objectively, almost certainly it's dead lost, but it's messy. No one likes messy when one is winning. And so I'm trying to keep it as clear and clean as possible. And again, the long thing tells you that, yeah, something is amiss here. He's not feeling happy about what's going on. And this position would be very promising for white, even with the extra black pawn here. But as is, it's just, yeah, too good for me. My queen is a little bit stranded, but at the same time know that because of his queen went this way, as in queen side wide, all of a sudden this is a very nasty one to stop. Yeah, so he wants to double here or here. Both are valid. He actually, I think he's defending against my rook d3 lift, which is fair. So now is the time for me to find again the cleanest possible win. So if I go rook d3, he goes rook here. Like, he's literally gonna run out of legal moves here. This is quite hilarious. I go queen e6. And there's hardly any piece left on the board that can move. That is mental, man. Check this out. It's gonna go here. I'm gonna double up. He's gonna go queen here. I go pawn up, queen up, I go in. Or even after here, I go in right away. Actually, then queen c4. And then this e4 hangs. So maybe after rook here, I need to play a preparatory b3 to preempt this. But then the queen might come down here. Okay, what about if I double first? So if b3 queen here. Yeah, I don't want that. Okay, let's just go here. Like, I really want to strangle him to the degree where he won't have legal moves left. Which is a rather sadistic concept, but why not coconut? He now needs to reckon with me moving my knight away and simply capturing the pawn. So for example, on queen c4, other than b3, I also have knight b4 defending this and opening up that. But I'm heavily banking here on the fact that can't move, maximum potential, so anything he can do, aka this move here, or e.g. rather this move here, is actually ruining his position, and that's a terrible move. I don't want to criticize him because he's dead lost, but this has shut down this bishop even worse than it was before, so now I can reroute my knight here and pick off both this and this. And he's going to probably resign soon, but before he does that, he's going to sell me this. Which I didn't really calculate, but I know it's not good enough. So if I take, the idea is that he takes back and then he wants to sell rook g8. And I do regret that I didn't look at it, because if I had looked at it, I probably wouldn't even have allowed that one. But again, it doesn't really make a difference. I have got a lot of good moves here. Queen e6 is probably best. Whereupon rook back. Yeah, let me think about this for a second. Because the only thing I don't want to give him is counterplay. No, it's over. I go queen here. Bishop is hanging, rook is hanging. And the That's end of story. And that is hanging too. Not enough counterplay. So the idea is that if he goes back to f6 with this rook, I will have knight g4 hitting both. And that's when it all falls apart. Interesting game. He tried his best to stir the pot, like you should in a Sveshnikov, but he did it alongside way too many very poor positional calls. That was one. Probably bishop h6 was another one, because it sidelined the bishop really poorly. Here he blundered a pawn, and then, yeah, well, I mean, this is logical. This was his only chance to do something on the king's side, but he's just too dead. So there is always that situation when you are so fundamentally, I wouldn't want to say the word lost, but misplaced in terms of your pieces, that it's not realistic to play for tactical counterplay. Like here, even if he had 5 moves in a row now, but not allowed to take, like this is a golden, a minefield. He can't go anywhere on this one. The bishop has no future. The queen can't find a target. So there's just no way that this is going to amount to anything now. This is hanging. This is hanging. It's just all over Red Rover. I'm looking at the check, but I will just settle for simplicity. And that's when he's going to resign, because that pawn was the embodiment of his one and only hope. He keeps on disconnecting, by the way, which is quite interesting. Not sure why that is happening with good old Klaus, who loves chess, as we do. He doesn't resign. Okay. Nah, he's resigning now. Thus allowing us an opportunity to analyze the game. Oh, okay. So I played this because that's a queen trade, which is usually the next step towards resignation, or d6 pawn drops, or both. G to the G, sir. G to the G. Nah. He doesn't know where to find the resign button. Remarkable. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but yeah. Now, surely this will make him upset with life. We scored, folks. All right, let's go analysis. Let's start with this one first, just to have a look at what happened. Or before that, I will say thank you. So, analysis board. Give me analysis, please. Whoa, baby. Triple Z. Ah, one inaccuracy. No. Knight CB4 was inaccurate. Bugger. Oh, no, it's 2 inaccuracies. Okay. So, we're quite far off of a perfect game. Okay, Bishop E2 was labeled and deemed inaccurate. I'm happy to wear that because that's still theory. I actually will switch to analysis mode so you can see it better. Bishop E2 F5, which I told you was not really the greatest. And I told you that F4 was a melon, or rather a lemon. Huh, they are anagrams. Wow. Bishop G4, take, and I told you that that was bad too. And indeed, now we are a solid 1+. And yes. Oh, rook FD1, best move. Look at your man. Knight back. Oh, queen h4, such a brilliant move. Forcing queen trade, man. That's awesome. I regret I missed that. So, yeah, I predicted here take, knight here, queen a7. And a4 I called. Boy, I was all over on this game. I'm quite happy. Okay, take. 19, excellent. So what was my other inaccuracy, I wonder? Or maybe in the end I didn't do a fourth mate, but traded queens, I guess that will be it. Yeah, there is nothing to be said about the rest. It was carnage. No, I can't see the second inaccuracy. Oh, knight c b4 here. Yeah, that's right. So that was inaccurate in bishop e2. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Excuse me. Okay, let's have a look at the other one quick. I felt I played that game really well too. No, I said I want to see the game, dude. Thank you. I mean, there's a chance that this will be a perfect game because it was so short. So, let's have a look. No, one inaccuracy. Knight c5 wasn't best, apparently. Let's check on the engine. So g6, blah blah blah, e5 back. So yeah, h4 c5. I thought it was h5 cd. Oh, and then it's queen d takes and queen f2. That's right, this is the line. And this is actually quite dangerous. And what's the other one? There's another one here that is quite crazy. Is this one? Yeah, that's it. Take. And after, there is some crazy stuff here. Oh yeah, that's it, e6. And then after bishop e6, 95. That's the trick. That's a beautiful one, folks. You need to remember, if you are a Pirc player, that this is how this gets defeated. If they take, you take, they take, you take, bishop c4, and you play e6. And here actually bishop e6 is a blunder. After knight g5, knight e5 exclam. Queen h5, pawn h6. And I think there's a perpetual check here, so something crazy. Check here, check, king g... Yeah, no, it's actually an endgame. Takes a knight here. Forced variation into a draw. Not bad, eh? But I digress. Digress or digress? I never know that. Anyway, c5, c3, queen b6. Engine prefers knight c6 instantly. So what's the go after d5? That's not good, man. Stop giving me that garbage. I knew I needed to play this. Take, knight c6 was great. Bishop back and rook d8 was to be preferred over... No? And my knight c5 got a suspicious mark? Wow, that's rough, man. Bishop h6. Who plays stuff like that? Knight c5 is second best move. And look at the evaluation. Knight c5 is second best and the point difference is 0.1. And yet, it gets an inaccuracy. Get out of my house. Takes, and queen e2 was a terrible blunder. So what was the best chance? Queen c2. In which case I reckon I pull back. Queen c3 with the idea of coming here. So rook d8, bishop here, queen here. Still keeping a tab on that king not castling. Bishop e4. And then bishop somewhere with rook c8. I really like this for black. Although my king is garbage. My bishop is garbage. But actually, I don't know if I like it as much as I thought I did. Yeah, rook here, queen here. Take f6. I would say very slight edge to black. But I wasn't as much better as I thought I would have been or should have been. This bishop h6 is a mental idea here. The concept is that if they play a lemon... Actually, what lemon can I play here? So what happens if I go here? Yeah, so then I take and bishop hangs. But I thought it also had a benefit that if I played a different lemon, that I may take this and this. But apparently that's not the plan. The plan is takes. Takes. And rook d8. What a move, man. Like, are we gonna win a bishop on c1? That's insane. Wow. Bishop d2 and we just casually develop. Because that's what I teach in my development course on chessable. That material doesn't count. Develop. Get your pieces out. This king is what matters. And the better developed pieces. This would have been a textbook case. Look at this. He even trades pieces. And then knight d4. This is still hanging. Look at that. Carnage. Would have never found this. This bishop h6 is such a unique idea. Love it though, because I told you that I had a... Well, I labeled this as my worst piece, but in reality this was probably even worse. And so that was awesome, man. Absolutely awesome. Alrighty, guys. Well, that was the 2 games for us for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And I shall be back with more soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.